So hey students, welcome to NCERT Solutions by Vedantu for class 11th and 12th, where we solve questions for all the chapters, for all the subjects which is there in your syllabus. This is Basavaraj, your biology master teacher. I'll be solving today's question from the chapter Plant Kingdom. Now let's look at the question. The question says, explain briefly, let me change the color of the pen to white, more easy to understand. So explain briefly the following terms with a suitable examples. So they're asking you to explain the terms as well as give some examples. Example भी हमको बताना है उनको. So example क्या क्या होते हैं बता देंगे. So first is protonema. What exactly is protonema? You need to understand. So let me write down protonema here. Protonema. So protonema is a structure which is found in the life cycle. Right? It is the first structure. I'll rewrite here. The first structure. First stage, I can say first stage in the life cycle of mosses. Life cycle of mosses. It is the first formed structure in the life cycle of your mosses. Now this structure is little peculiar because it is a creeping structure. It is a creeping branched filamentous structure. Right? It is a creeping structure. I'll draw it here. It is a creeping, I'll write it here, creeping filamentous branched independent structure. Why do I say independent? I'm saying independent because it is green color. If it is green color, it does photosynthesis. It is green in color. So it is a protonema is a structure. It is the first formed structure in the life cycle of your mosses. And it is a green structure because it is independent now. It is independent green structure which is filamentous, it is creeping and it is branched. But the question is, what do we get protonema from? What is it developed from? Right? So protonema is developed, right? It is developed directly from spores. It is developed directly from the spores. The spores which undergoes mitosis directly develop into protonema. It is the same protonema which has something called as lateral buds later on. Now these lateral buds give rise to the thallus. That's the complete life cycle. So in order to understand the terminologies, in order to understand the ploidy level, you need to understand the life cycle of the bryophytes. So as I mentioned earlier, ploidy. What is the ploidy of protonema? Protonema is haploid in nature. It is what? It is haploid in nature. Now let's quickly understand two examples because examples are important. I've asked you. The first example is your funaria. Funaria and sphagnum. It is the same sphagnum which is known as what? Sphagnum is known as, type it down in the comment section, what is the common name of sphagnum? Let me give you a simple hint. It starts from P. It starts from P. Let's see how many of you know what is the common name of the sphagnum, and also comment down if you know what exactly is the use of it. What is the economic importance of sphagnum? Clear? Well, that is your protonema. Clear? It is the first stage in the life cycle of your mosses. Creeping structure, filamentous structure, branch structure, which is independent because it does photosynthesis. Now, next is the antheridium. Now, let's understand antheridium as well as archegonium together because they are kind of related in the terms of the definition as other structure. First, we have antheridium, right? Antheridium, pardon my handwriting. Then you have archegonium. Now, antheridium is your male sex organ while your archegonium is female sex organ. First difference, antheridium is the male sex organ while your archegonium is female sex organ. Now, that is the first difference. Antheridium produces what? Antheridium or the male sex organ produces biflagellated anthrozoids. The antheridium produces biflagellated anthrozoids. While your archegonium produces single egg cell. Single egg cell. Right? Now these both structures are jacketed. Right? Both structures have a separate layer around it known as jacket. So they are jacketed. The 6 organs are jacketed. Now this jacket can be seen in the higher forms, that is pteridophytes and all. But where do you find them? Your antheridium can be seen in bryophytes as well as pteridophytes. Bryophytes as well as pteridophytes. What about archegonium? Archegonium is seen in bryophytes, pteridophytes, and also gymnosperms. Now, one more thing about archegonium is the structure of archegonium is a flask-shaped structure. It is a flask-shaped structure, which has two parts, neck as well as swollen ventral. Clear? That is your antheridium and archegonium. I hope it is clear. Next is your diplontic. What is diplontic? Have you heard the word diplontic, haplontic, haplodiplontic? Right? How many of you heard the word diplontic? Let me know in the comment section. What is the difference between diplontic and haplontic? Okay, so diplontic. Diplontic is seen in your angiosperms as well as gymnosperms. First and foremost, it is seen in your angiosperms as well as gymnosperms. Now, these angiosperms and gymnosperms, the plant body is diploid in nature and it is known as sporophyte. So the plant body here is sporophyte. That is the dominant phase. Dominant phase is sporophyte. Okay, the handwriting is going haywire. Let me quickly erase that and write it again. So sporophyte is the dominant phase here. Sporophyte is the dominant phase. Right? Sporophyte is the dominant phase, and sporophyte is 2-1. And this diplontic is the stage in life cycle. And in this stage in life cycle, the plant body is sporophytic, which is the dominant phase. This is seen in, as I mentioned earlier, diplontic is seen in gymnosperms as well as angiosperms. It is seen in gymnosperms, the angiosperms. Diplontic is the stage in the life cycle of gymnosperms and angiosperms. And these gymnosperms and angiosperms are sporophytic in nature, that is diploid, and that is the dominant phase here. This is the dominant phase. Now, what about gametophyte? What happens to gametophyte? So, the gametophyte here is dependent. Gametophyte here is dependent on sporophyte. The gametophyte, whichever here is completely dependent on the sporophyte, and it is the same gametophyte which is very reduced here. Very reduced and small. The gametophyte here is reduced and small, and it is completely dependent on the sporophyte for nutrition, physical as well as all type of nutritions. Clear? That is your diplontic. Diplontic life cycle seen in your gymnosperms and angiosperms. Sporophytic is the dominant, which is the 2N. Clear? Next is your archegonium is done, and antheridium, archegonium is done, sporophytic. Sporophyll, very important. Sporophyll. Sporophyll is a structure where? In your ferns, also known as pteridophytes. Now, sporophyll is a leaf. Sporophyll is a leaf that bears. Very important. Please note on the definitions. Sporophyte is a leaf that bears sporangia. Okay, let me write it down. Sporophyll, let me write it down, is a leaf that bears sporangia. Clear? Sporophyte is a leaf that bears, sporangia. Now, these sporophylls, right, sporophylls can be two types. Microsporophylls as well as megasporophylls. Also megasporophylls. Microsporophylls as well as megasporophylls. Sporophyll is a leaf that bears sporangia. Sporophyll is that is sporangia. Now these sporophylls can aggregate. They can what? Aggregate. When they aggregate, they form a special structure known as a cone or strobili. Cone or strobili. Okay, cone or strobili. When sporophyll aggregate, they form cone or strobili. Clear? Now, what about the examples? Example is any of your pteridophytes. An example of pteridophytes. Pteridophytes. You can write pteridophytes for example here. Clear? If you want to know the diagram, go join the Telegram channel. I'll send you a diagram of the ecosystem. It can be seen in the ecosystem also. Clear? That is sporophyll. And look at the next one. Let's look at the next one, students. Isogamy, very important. Isogamy is a type of sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction. What happens here? Fusion of gametes happens. Fusion of gametes. Now these gametes are here, right? These gametes are special because the size and structure. The size and the structure is same. Very important, note down. Now, isogamy is a type of fusion of gametes where the gametes what? The gametes are similar in shape as well as size. Also, the morphology of these gametes are exactly same. That is your isogamy. Isogamy. Clear? Now, these are the different terms. Example for isogamy is chlamydomonas. Example for isogamy is chlamydomonas. Chlamydomonas, which is a single cell organism, single cell unicellular organism. The other example is also Urothrix. Also, you can tell the example of Urothrix here. Other example here is Urothrix. Clear? So those were the six different terms which you can understand by learning the life cycles, by learning the certain statements in this chapter. So if you like the video, if you understood the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also do not miss any of the content because this channel is going to be so active from now onwards. So until next time.